All right, welcome back to Fridays at 5. I'm Victoria Longo. I am super excited to bring this series back in a bigger and much different way. I'm going to be talking about a wide variety of topics and hope to invite some guests on in the future for future episodes. So if you are interested and want to learn more, then I invite you to like and subscribe to this channel to be updated when new videos are released. Hint, these happen Fridays at 5, but I will be adding additional content to my channel as well. So that said, I want to dive in today and kick things off with a topic I'm super passionate about, which is intuition, right? And helping people connect with their own intuition, because I do believe 100% certain everybody is intuitive. Everybody has a psychic ability. The problem is we are never taught it, and we are taught to value our minds above all, right? And our minds are loud. I use ego and monkey mind interchangeably. To me, they are one and the same, right? The ego is our identity. It's our sense of self. It loves to divide. It loves to separate, create division, right? Comparison, judgment, blame, shame, all of those things. There was a book called Outwitting the Devil, I believe by Napoleon Hill, where he goes up against the devil, right? And a lot of people say you can decide if it's real or figurative. Now, I do believe the devil is real. And I do believe that our ego can definitely take on characteristics of the devil, because it will be the one that makes the excuses. It will be the one that steers us in the wrong direction, right? So just as an example, one of the things I hear so much when I talk about this subject is people saying, my intuition led me wrong. My intuition, I followed it and it didn't work out. And I would challenge that every single time, because usually, not usually, always, our intuitive voice is so quiet and it's so subtle. It's very easy to miss. We are taught to, we're not even taught about the thoughts in our head, but we are taught to value our brains, right? Figuring it out, using our minds, using logic, and being practical, and all of these things in life, right? To create. And that's the voice that's loud. It's the voice that's critical. It's the voice that usually will almost instantly discount any intuitive awareness you have. So you might not even be aware that you had an intuitive hit. You might just be aware of all of the reasons, justifications, and stories that came along with it, right? And this happens to me, which is why, even as a psychic, in my own personal life, there's so many times where I will miss my awareness, but I will catch myself having this internal debate in my head. And I'm like, what is this even about? And I have to kind of backtrack to figure out what was the awareness I had that I'm not following, right? Because our intuition isn't logical. It isn't always practical. It won't make sense to our brains, which is why most people want to go into trying to, ignore it and not pay attention to it. I once knew a woman who said, exactly that. I trusted my intuition and it let me down again. And she got herself into a situation that was financially devastating, right? Now, the thing is, she had consulted with me for psychic reading before all of this had happened. And her exact words were, something feels off, right? That's your intuition. You can't explain it. You don't understand why, right? Because it's a subtle feeling. There's many different ways it can show up. And I have a book that you can check out. It's free, kind of going into all the different senses and how our intuitive awarenesses can show up. But that was it, right? Something didn't feel right, but her mind couldn't make sense of why. There was nothing logical or practical about why this person in this situation would go sour, right? So she discounted that feeling and followed what her mind said. She listened to the excuses and the reasons and the justifications that had her continue down this path. And then at the end of it, when things went sour, it was, I can't trust my intuition, because she didn't even realize that her first hit was to not do it. or that hurt, to walk away and to not trust it. But people do this in relationships all the time, right? They meet a partner and there's something that's off, but their brain can't make sense of why. So, I've done it. I once met a guy in a networking group, and my intuition was like, there's something off, right? Don't trust him. And my brain said, everybody else does. Everybody loves him. Everybody works with him, right? So I agreed to working together with him and ended up sexually assaulted. Now, I knew better, right? So I don't entirely blame him. He was absolutely in the wrong for what he did, and I knew better. At the end of the day, I should have listened to my gut, right? I should have listened to that feeling that didn't know why I thought there was something off with him, right? Instead, I listened to my mind. I listened to everybody else that vouched for him and trusted him, right? So again, this is why if you spend your day policing your thoughts, it's a full-time job. You won't have time to judge anybody else. You won't have time to shame anybody else and criticize anybody else, because our minds run all the time, right? Except for when we're asleep. And sometimes people can't even sleep because their minds are going, which is a topic for another day. But what I want to focus on here is that, being aware of that first instinct, of that first hit, and trusting it 100%, even if your mind doesn't understand why or how, right? Because that's what's going to guide you towards everything that you're asking for, and that's what's going to keep you safe. Had I listened to it, I would not have put myself in a situation that I could have been a victim, right? Because again, I knew better. I didn't know why. I didn't know that, I was going to be sexually assaulted, but I knew that there was something off with this individual, and that there was something that was, giving me the heebie-jeebies about it, right? But I kept discounting it, saying, but no, it's fine. Everybody else has worked with him that I know and loves him and, sings his praises, right? So trusting that intuitive hit. And it might just take, when you start on this journey, catching yourself when your monkey mind is going off on a tangent, right? And backtracking. So using my example, if I would have paid attention to the fact that I was justifying why everybody else liked him, or why they trusted him, or, trying to build a case to why that gut feeling was wrong, because our gut feelings are never wrong. Our gut feelings, our intuitive voice, is our connection to God, universe, source, right? Like, we are children of God. And if you don't believe in God, then whatever term you want to use to connect you to that all-knowing creator, right? That we are the spark of, and our intuition is our connection and communication to actually creating here what we were born to this life to create. And I do believe that every single one of us, our souls came here with a purpose. And it wasn't to just, be a cog in a wheel and work 9 to 5 and go home and die, right? Like, I do believe we are here for more than that. So in order to live that, in order to live our dreams, in order to live our purpose, we can co-create with the universe, right? We can co-create by trusting our gut, by trusting our intuition, and taking action from there versus taking action from what our mind believes is the way for us to have what we want. Because the mind only knows what it knows. And what the mind knows is based off of what we see. So what we see in others' lives, what we see on TV, what we see in movies, which TV and movies are not even real, from our past experiences, from our parents, from our childhood growing up, right? So all of these things, the mind knows, right? So this person did this and this is the outcome. And we form very limited points of view about the world as children of why things are the way we are. And there's a school of thought that believes that that's kind of where the ego's voice is formed, right? Based off those experiences. And then that inner child continues to drive the wheel for us for most of the rest of our lives, because most of us can find exceptions to the stories that we believe are true, right? So if we grew up in poverty, there are people who grew up under same circumstances that broke free. Now, they're not special. They didn't have anything, you know, else other than they probably trusted what their gut was telling them was possible, versus listening to the lies in our head about, I just saw a little, I don't know if you all saw that, a little flash of light, a little orb, a little angel. So thank you. So anyway, you know, the monkey mind, the ego, lies. It lies to us about the way things are. And yet we continue to believe it. And yet we continue to live our lives from it, versus trusting in that greater, connection piece, that intuitive piece that we have, that can give us greater, that can lead us to everything that we desire, right? And so the reason that I say the monkey mind lies is because it does. Because for every limiting belief that we tell ourselves, we've likely lived the opposite experience, right? So if we are somebody that has never had, let's say a common one is we don't have money. It's actually a lie, because we probably do have money to pay things, but the mind doesn't believe that, right? It discounts that because it wants the money over here and wants an excess of it. So we don't pay attention to what shows up, right? And this is why this steers so much of our lives, right? Like sometimes we'll be in a relationship and somebody will be telling us how beautiful we are and how much they love us, right? But if our ego mind is feeding us the lies that we're not good enough, nobody's ever going to love us, there's something wrong with us, we can't receive it. We can't receive it. Even if it is laid out on a silver platter for us, we will trip right over it into situations that validate the story that our ego has decided is true and real. And we'll discount our intuition along the way because we're too busy living life from our mind, right? So paying attention to our intuition. What do we actually want? And for some people, we might not have even looked at what we desire from life in a very long time, because we've already decided we can't have that and we've resigned ourselves to this is the life we have to live. Well, start exploring that, because I guarantee that whatever you dream of is possible for you. There's a reason you have that dream. There's a reason that you are born into this life, into this time. And there are experiences that you came to have. And the reason that if you can dream it, then it is possible for you. And the reason that you might not be living it is because you don't trust that. You don't trust that you can have that. And there's a whole other topic I'm going to do about the bastardization of God, right? That religion has perpetuated of like this vengeful, judgmental God up there in the sky that's doling out punishment, which is also a big fucking lie, right? But there's a reason you have your dreams. And if you haven't even acknowledged your dreams, I start playing with them and start being aware of the stories that you're telling yourself in your mind all day, every day, right? Are they supporting a life of magic where anything is possible? Or are they perpetuating situations that you no longer want to be in and you no longer want to see, right? So be the change that you want to see in the world. means coming back to what it is you desire to create, what it is you desire to live, and then not sit back and wait and judge everybody else for not living that way and doing that, but be the change. Be it every single day, regardless of what everybody else is doing. Be that version of you. And you do that by following your intuition. But because your intuition is going to tell you to, your intuition is never going to guide you to be critical to somebody or to hurt somebody or to be unkind, right? Your intuition wants to create that peace and that joy that so many people claim to desire, but they don't live it because they're waiting for everybody else to step up. And then, this is where, again, another lie of the ego. When the ego says, once all of those external things are in place, then we can just step into it. So once all those people do it, then I can have it, which is a lie. You can have it now. You can be it now. All it takes is letting go of all those stories that the ego is telling you that you are believing is true and real, and really connecting back to the essence of who you are, to that soul spark that you be, and those dreams that you desire to live in this lifetime. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and stay tuned for next week. I'll probably be talking about the bastardization of God. So thank you all for watching.